DLC or downloadable content has completely changed how we play video games. Whether it's new maps, skins, or characters, DLC keeps our favorite games fresh after launch. But in a series such as Super Smash Bros., DLC just doesn't add content, it defines the game's legacy. Smash Ultimate took DLC to the next level, adding iconic characters from all over the gaming universe. But with big names come big expectations, and sometimes even bigger controversies. Now, in my personal opinion, there are two types of Smash fans. One are the people that don't really care who gets added in and overall think it's a celebration of gaming in general, whereas you have the other hand who literally send death threats to Sakurai over characters that either made it in or didn't make it in, which I don't like to associate with them. I personally think regardless of who gets in and who doesn't get in, it's just a giant celebration, and I think all of us should be grateful that we have a game that combines all the greatest gaming icons. With that explanation out of the way, today we're going to be diving into the DLC of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. I'm specifically going to be focusing on controversial characters, so I'm not going to go over every single one of them, but if you want a video specifically going over each character, their impact on the game, let me know in the comments and I'll definitely cook up something. And as always, if you enjoy this type of content, let me know in the comments below. Like, subscribe, show your boy some love, because it's kind of hard to get these videos out, especially how much effort I'm putting into them, being a college student and all that. So yeah, enough of my begging, enjoy. Starting off, we have probably one of the most interesting characters that I believe shouldn't have been controversial in the first place. I'll get into those reasons later. But starting our list, we have Hiro from the Dragon Quest series. Dragon Quest is oftenly called the grandfather of Japanese RPGs. First released in 1986, this series set the standard for turn-based combat, expansive worlds, and epic storytelling. Its influence can be seen in nearly every modern RPG, like Final Fantasy to even Persona. And in Japan, Dragon Quest is more than a game, it's part of their culture. So when Hiro joined Ultimate, it wasn't just adding a new fighter, it was about bringing a piece of gaming history into one of the biggest crossover games ever made. And on top of that, it just wasn't one character. It was multiple protagonists from different Dragon Quest games. Now at first look inside the trailer, Hiro just looked like another swordy that was in the game. But the thing that made him different was 3 letters, RNG. Now, it's not unheard of for there to be RNG in Smash already, as plenty of characters had moves like this, but Hiro's level of RNG was on the next level. This is mainly pertaining to their down special, also known as Command Menu, which essentially gave Hiro a list of spells to look through and use, which is amazing because it took a lot of aspects from the Dragon Quest games and added it into this character with all of its spells and everything. These spells could range from buffs to attacks that could kill you at very low percents. And the fact that all of it was randomized with his down B made the predictability of this character extremely low. And another mechanic that was added from their game was critical hits. Now critical hits can be easily achieved by landing a smash attack on your opponent. That, combined with all the buffs he could potentially get, made his smash attack something you did not want to get hit by. If there's one move in Hiro's arsenal that perfectly embodies the chaos of their design, it's Hocus Pocus. This spell is available inside the command menu and is basically the ultimate wild card in Smash Ultimate. See what I did there? When selected, Hocus Pocus can trigger any number of random effects, with some incredibly powerful abilities and others being outright hilarious. Now this move can basically do anything. It can give you the effect of a mushroom, it could slow you down, it can drain all your MP, and it could even choose from the list of all the spells you have. Essentially, with good luck, Hiro threw out all competitive viability out the window, with some matches straight up ending not because of the skill of the other player, but because of how lucky the Hiro player got, which essentially led to Hiro's ban in Southern Australia by the SASC, which is essentially the people that run tournaments tournaments in that specific part of Australia. Not only did they post on Twitter, they also attached a TwitLonger to their post that is unfortunately no longer available, but their main point was, and I quote, "After deliberation and plenty of discussion, we have concluded that Hero's design as a character is fundamentally dependent on randomness to the point that it is not reasonable in a competitive environment." Now, personally, I thought this was very dumb because I just think overall people worry too much about hypotheticals. Because yes, Hero has the potential to be very stupid and very broken, but it's evened out by how much bad stuff can happen to him with his spells, as well as his terrible frame data, his terrible speed, and airspeed. Again, I think any argument about banning this character is outright very dumb in my opinion, because at the end of the day, you just gotta adapt. And this character has some obvious flaws that people just looked past back then. But overall, you had one side arguing about how random his RNG was and how it made it unfair for the other player, and on the other side, you had other people arguing about other RNG characters in different fighting games, as well as just RNG and Smashes in general. But yeah, obviously the ban didn't stay because Hero's playable everywhere, but I still think it was interesting to bring up because it's pretty rare when characters get banned. So let me know your opinion in the comments and tell me how you felt about Hero's release. For our next character, they have to be without a doubt one of the most hated Smash releases of all time. And I'm sure if you're watching this being a Smash fan, you already know who it is, Byleth. Byleth is one of the main protagonists from the Fire Emblem series, specifically being from Three Houses, which is one of Nintendo's most successful tactical RPGs for the Nintendo Switch. And when they were revealed as the final character in Fighters Pass 1, many fans were less than thrilled. The thing people hated the most about them was mainly because they were another Fire Emblem Sword character, which isn't entirely true because they technically have 3 different weapons, but I like to think a lot of people like to ignore that. But needless to say, Fire Emblem is a very overrepresented series in Ultimate, making Byleth the 8th Fire Emblem character in this game. And personally, I didn't mind their inclusion. There, I said it. Hate me if you want to. But in actuality, I can understand the frustration that a lot of people had when it came to Byleth's announcement. And it showed. Because not only was the announcement for Byleth's trailer the most disliked Smash reveal of all time, the live fan reaction that they usually hold in New York was absolutely dead silent when Byleth was announced. Like, you know it's bad when you can hear the literal trailer audio instead of the screams of everyone being hyped over the character reveal. Byleth was such a curveball for a lot of fans because everyone expected the entire Fighter Pass to follow the trend of only being third-party characters, but it would seem as if Byleth broke that streak, ending Pass 1 with a not so well received inclusion. And I'm not entirely sure how it came about, but a lot of people, including myself, expected it to be Dante from the Devil May Cry series. Now personally, and this is just my opinion, Byleth wasn't chosen because they were a fan favorite, but mainly because Fire Emblem Three Houses was a major hit for Nintendo in general. I saw this as a kind of a corporate decision to boost the game's sales rather than a celebration of having a diverse roster. But another side that I think a lot of people fail to realize is Smash isn't only a game popular in the West. It is also popular in places like Japan, in which a lot of these characters like Byleth or even Hero, previously mentioned, are these giant mascots that Japanese players love to see. And I'm really reiterating a lot of my points when it comes to having different perspectives, mainly because how serious people were about Byleth being added into the game. It got so bad to the point that Sakurai was straight up receiving death threats by what I assume are immature over a party game. And it was crazy too because after Byleth's reveal, they also announced a Fighters Pass 2. So it's not like they didn't have hope of different characters being added, it just made no sense. Overall, I think Byleth as a character inclusion was very overhated. I get that Fire Emblem is a very overrepresented series inside Smash, and I think it is as well, but at the same time, we have to keep into perspective that Smash isn't only meant for a Western audience, and making death threats over your character not being added or a character being added is one of the most immature things to do, and you should not be allowed to even play video games anymore. For our final character, very few have sparked as much debate as this fighter. This isn't just a character, they represent one of the most iconic games of all time, a game about creativity, exploration, and building your own world. That character being Steve from the Minecraft series. Steve was announced on October 1st of 2020, being the character right after Min Min. Needless to say, this character blew up online with their inclusion. Funny enough though, a lot of people like to say Steve broke Twitter, mainly because their servers went down right when people were posting about him, even though they were completely unrelated. Now you may be wondering, if Steve was so liked, why is he on this list about controversial Smash Ultimate characters? Similarly to Hero, it wasn't exactly the character in specific, but the way that they played and how the character functioned. To sum up how Steve plays, he mines for materials from the stage, crafts tools, and builds structures mid-match, which allowed him to build his own platforms and essentially make a stage for himself. These were character mechanics we had never seen before, and sounded cool right off the bat. But, long story short, Steve's mechanics turned the competitive scene on its head, just by the way how players figured out more stuff about him and exploited his entire character's moveset and abilities. I don't really want to go in depth to a lot of these stuff because they could probably be their own videos, but just to name off some stuff Steve could do: he had insane impossible to escape setups at ledge, had a way to literally escape true combos, and his block placing allowed you to essentially camp out your opponent while you gathered materials. Not to mention, the damage on this character was absolutely insane, with the strongest tools he can get being diamond tools, giving him literal 0 to deaths depending on your opponent's DI, or taking you straight from 0 to 60. Needless to say, Steve had some crazy tournament results, with players you have never ever heard of beating these top pro players. It seemed to me that Steve was a very rushed character, as it just made no sense how many glitches and how this character was able to get past playtesting. And of course, this led to the question, should Steve be banned? And of course, that question divided the community. On one hand, you had yes, with their main reasons being everything I just mentioned, and on the other side you had no, with their main argument being that there was a lot of counterplay to all of Steve's mechanics and glitches. Now, unfortunately, I would give my own opinion on it, but I really don't know a lot about Steve to justify whether or not I'd ban him or not. But of course, different TOs made their decision on whether or not to ban him, and in some places he did get banned, most notably the Coinbox, which is held by Hungrybox.
The Coinbox will be banning Steve from all future Ultimate events.
But vice versa, a lot of people saying that banning Steve was a terrible idea and would actually hurt the game in the long run. And again, I'm not going to state my opinion because I'm just uneducated about Steve in general. So if you think Steve should be banned or shouldn't be banned, let me know in the comments below. But at the end of the day, and overall, love him or hate him, Steve's impact on Ultimate is undeniable. He's a character that pushed the boundaries of what's possible in a fighting game, for better or for worse. And overall, I think that people should just be grateful we got a character as big as this in Ultimate. Whether it's randomness, roster choices, or game-breaking mechanics, DLC characters and Ultimate have sparkled some of the biggest debates in its series. And while all three of the characters' controversies are all very outdated and not even talked about to this day, it's still fun to look back and see how much different Smash Ultimate has changed in its lifetime. But I would like to know your opinion. Do you think any of these characters' controversies were necessary? Is there a character that I missed, perhaps? Leave all that in the comments below, as well as tell me how well I did in this video. With all that being said, make sure you like, subscribe, hit that bell, stay safe, and have a good day. Peace.